record button for us. So welcome to my survival guide for photographers. Can't believe I'm having to create a series of webinars based on this and things really, and this pandemic time that we're in is obviously, I just don't know what to say, to be honest. The good news is that if you want business at the end of it, I'm going to make sure you're in business. On the other hand, if you've had enough, then obviously I can understand that many of you are going to be kind of using it as an excuse and things really as well with it. But during the course of these next 6 parts, part 1 today, how do I survive the shutdown and what do I do on restart? So today specifically we're looking at the now as well as getting ready for the then. And within the experience group, we're actually working through a 14-week plan. We're on week 5 now. So we actually began to create and generate things that we were going to need and look at actually the restart proposition way ahead of time and things really. So I'm trying to share a little bit along the line with some of you who can actually apply some of it within your business today. Couldn't be bringing these things without, you know, Photographer Academy wise, without the likes of our trade partners, and Loxley's specifically has kind of come on board with these things for us. We're not really talking about their product today. We'll do about that in past and future editions, as it were. But you know, I'm an avid Loxley Colour user and have been for more than 20 years now, ever since we closed our own lab down in 2001. So again, just really big shout out to them, big thanks to them, because everybody's under the same pressures no matter what. So let's get going with today. Okay, let's do the doom and gloom first, yeah? So this is before C19, all right? So it is a fact that only 1/2 of startup businesses survive more than 5 years. That might shock you, but in fact, it's only 1 in 3 restaurants that survive, 1 in 5 restaurants that survive more than 3 years. So as far as for photography is concerned, I suppose that's a really good sign. And only 1/3 make it into the 10th year and beyond. So that's a real kind of appraisal by itself. So what's going to be going on following this? To be honest, I've got absolutely no idea, because you'll have a different mind frame to somebody else. The kind of mind frame that I come from is I am a fighter and I'm a doer. And I know I upset people because I call it what it is instead of actually trying to flower stuff up and things really. And that's what I want to try and do actually with today's part, is be structured and real and actually have some ideas of what you should be doing. That's the key thing for us, all right? So yes, we're going to lose a lot of photography businesses, a lot of them. And many of them because they were hand to mouth. We're going to be losing quite a lot of wedding photographers, or they won't so much lose, but they're going to have to find perhaps another job if they can during the end of this summer and so on, when they start to restart again. But they're going to be a significant amount of money down. I am doing a specific part 2 on wedding photographers next week, okay? So watch out for that anyway. But we have to accept we are going to lose a lot of photography businesses. Yes, many will use the virus as the excuse to close their doors. Is that good or bad? I don't think it's good. I think they'll use it as the excuse is the right word there. And fingers crossed, many of you online with me today are wanting way more than an excuse to close a door. As I said to begin with, you know, I'm a fighter, and that's what we're doing and trying to actually do with all our experienced studios, is to make sure that they're fighting their corner now, ready for the restart, and it's obviously getting to that restarting element. So if you're going to use the virus as an excuse, I'm okay with it. I'm okay, just don't say it to my face, all right? Because it just means that the business wasn't really strong to begin with, okay? And obviously as a new start, so if you look at probably the people who've been most affected in this have been the people who've begun their businesses in the past couple of months. And why is obviously they don't get any support from the government anyway. In the same way, though, I would say that photographers who are relying on the government to prop them up as far as their salary is concerned, I would have said, well, even though you're entitled to it, take it. That's key. All right. I'm not saying not. However, it means that you can't work. So I'm a director of companies, which means that if I furloughed myself, which I can, but if you're unfamiliar, a director of a company gets basically paid this much because we rely on this much for all our bonuses and kind of benefits and things, really. So it means that if I was to furlough myself, I would get a basic kind of pigeon salary for the next however long I furloughed myself for. But it means besides for doing the accounts, I cannot do anything within my business at all. And let's face it, that the HMRC, whether you like it or not, is going to be looking for businesses to claim their money back from. So in other words, furloughing staff and so on with it. They're out there, they're going to be looking at, because this isn't a charity at the end of the day. What they've done is actually put something in place to allow. I would say that one of the real benefits of being a business at present, especially a shopkeeper as such, we know the kind of the pros and cons of running studio premises and things, really. You know, my rates here is what, £24,000 a year. I own the premises, but that's being paid through a mortgage, so there's still costs. It cost me £2,000 a quarter in gas and electric for light and heat. It never feels like that in an old converted church and things, really. But that's not an excuse to just go enough's enough. It's about you understand what you're kind of getting. So in other words, those who can get a business grant, not the loan, and should get it and go for it and apply for it in the same way as we have done, is because the business has said you're entitled to it, and basically need to make sure that you are taking what you can get. So that's the first thing. Okay, I'm not here to talk about these other things, but we've got to put all our kind of wares out there to begin with today, because there's going to be other things that you're not really ready for. And we've got to make sure that when we understand what we're entitled to, we're not relying on, because if you start to rely on that grant coming through, then basically the business is probably going to close its door anyway. Some of you online, hopefully most of you online, will use this opportunity to completely redesign the short and the long-term business plans. And that is obviously so you can be stronger tomorrow, so you can be prepared for another one of today, as it were. And fingers crossed, many of you are basically now realizing that perhaps you should have been stashing more cash. You should have been actually preparing for the future more. And basically, you shouldn't have bought the new camera a couple of weeks ago. That's just life, isn't it? Yeah, boys and girls with their toys as photographers and things. But if we accept that this first slide is the worst case scenario of what we're going to be discussing in these next series of webinars, we're okay. If you completely do not agree with what you're seeing on the screen now, if I was you, I would just switch off and go. Because basically what I'm now looking to do is to take those who want to fight, and we're going to find a way to make sure that you're not just here at the opening of the doors, as it were, but we're ready to open fast and strong and ready to deliver the business in the best way it can be delivered. Okay, so you might be not have any staff at prayers present. You might be really so strapped cash you don't know actually how you're going to be doing things. Third week, I'm talking about all the financial stress and errors and what we can be doing. Okay, guaranteed, I promise you. But today we need to actually admit we're an alcoholic, as it were, where you need to admit that I'm a smoker. Whatever you need to admit to, in this case, it might be my business is vulnerable. We accept it, we do that, we can move on from it. If you bury your head in the sand and you're an ostrich, you're soon going to find that it's going to come back, and basically the world is still going to be a bad place at the end of this. Even Jay is here to do a bit of the tech. He's also on the question panel, so he's willing to help us out today. So if you want to get on to Jay and basically just put your questions into him. How are we going to do it? I think that's the question that so many people are not going to answer you. I hope during these webinars, we're going to be answering a little bit at a time. So with my experience group, first of all, before they even began to actually look like there was going to be a lockdown, but it looked like it was going to get bad, I had to come up with a plan. Why? Because I know they're in the now. They were dealing with their businesses. They were dealing with the running of it. They were dealing with the sessions that they had on. They were dealing with the viewings that they had on. They were dealing with, in other words, the everyday. My job is to look way beyond. My job is to go, well, that's why they're busy, is because we've made them busy. Now, how do we ensure that they're going to survive this pandemic? And how are we going to actually make sure we're going to come out the other end? And we're going to come out the other end very busy, even if we've got to redesign the business. So, did video really kill the radio star, going back to the famous lyrics? No, it didn't. In fact, it made radio bigger than ever. So in other words, you know, things like webcams in radio studios nowadays, they're as there as they are listening in. You can watch bands playing live and so on. So, you know, the old lyric of, was it the Buggles, I think, or something like that, with it, did video really kill the radio star? No, it's not going to. And it's only going to do it if you allow it to. And what we've got to be aware of, though, is what type of photography businesses will be most affected instantly. So that would be wedding. That's why next week we're doing a special on wedding, all right? But then who else is going to be affected in the longer term and things, really? So even the likes of commercial photography will be affected, but when will it be affected? How will it be affected? Well, if I was a product photographer, I'm going to be affected pretty much straight away if there's no production, there's no prototype, or there's nothing to shoot is concerned. So in other words, if the factory is shut down and they've gone into a hibernation mode, then basically, because I put all my eggs in one basket, that is technically the same. Now, I've started businesses through recessions, and I've been through recessions, and I've also come very, very close to actually calling it a day with a photographic business in the past. However, that was a commercial business, never a portrait and wedding one. And why was that? It's because I put all my eggs in one basket as far as a commercial photographer, and I looked after a very few really great clients, except one of those few really great clients decided to go bust, and they owed me a significant amount of money. And because I knew they'd been a client of mine for a very long time, and because I knew I was being paid on 90 days all the time, you get used to doing things in a bad way. And yes, we used to have to chase money and so on with it and things, really. But the whole point of this is, if we allow ourselves just to remain as one thing, then there's probably another possibility that it is not going to work out for the best of us. So we need to actually be aware of the changes. Laura, who deals with all our marketing for the experience, she recently got on to our experience group, and she said, okay, just give me some quotes if you can, how beneficial the experience group has been to you. And we literally only had these about an hour or so before we were going live today. We didn't know we were going to have them today. So the experience has not only given me the support to stay in the best mind frame to see the business through this time, but it's given me accountability so that I'm not just sat in my PJs feeling sorry for myself, but actively working on the business so that we can come back with a bang. Okay, so that's it. That's it straight away. You need somebody, you need to find something that is going to rely on you to be able to move you on to the next place. That's the first thing we've got to do. All right, so let's kind of look at these in turn now about how do I survive, first of all. That's the key thing, is that you learn to swim, you learn to actually change your diet. You need to actually change your whole lifestyle around this and things really. So the first thing I'm going to encourage you to do is please, please, please do not panic. All right. If you panicking, and I know that it's very easy to say this, but we need to plan and we need to sit back and settle down. Now, the biggest problem for me, you've had 3 to 4 weeks to be doing this now. And so at this point, if you haven't come up with a strategic plan, if you haven't got things in place, it's probably not going to be as easy for you in these next couple of weeks because you haven't got off your asses and done something now. So I had a 14-week, I predicted how our experienced photographers specifically were going to be in each of those weeks. And I was measuring it through their activity and if I was going to be correct or wrong with it and things really. The good news was that in week 3, they actually were performing better than I anticipated them to do. Yes, we had some who still were in their the PJs with it, but we won't talk about them yet because they're now actually in that next week 4, week 5 mode and so on. So let's do these one thing at a time. You have to find out when will cash flow run out. The number one thing on any business at present is when is that day. So don't think that we're going to be bailed out by the government even more, wherever it would be, but when is that day? When are we going to run out of cash? And you can do that by creating yourself a simple expenditure on the likes of Excel, or if you've got to do it on a beer mat, then do it on a beer mat. But that's the first thing to understand. So can you generate any cash now? So one of the first things that I initiated with our experienced photographers is I trained them up onto online sales. It's not something that we usually talk about or do because we teach and train for face-to-face selling. However, what I had to do is get them into a mode that the last sessions that they were doing before lockdown was that they had the ability to be selling them during lockdown because that was going to help the cash flow anyway. So both myself and Jay, we actually looked at things. We went, okay, so what do they need to do? I was lucky. Why was I lucky? It's because only a few weeks beforehand, we had a sales training conference down here in the studios. And basically, I was getting them prepared a little bit for online without them even realizing it. I'm not a fan of horror films because I react to them in the wrong way. I get scared. Whereas some people fight it. You know, they laugh it through, in other words, and so on with me. Cash flow, I absolutely fear God with, as it were, because it is the end of all things. And if I'm not looking at it all the time, if I'm not predicting about how things are going to change. And the one thing that I didn't have the benefit was that I couldn't just go online and sell in the same way as these key photographers had been photographing still to be able to actually sell to their clients. And all in all, it was absolutely, I think, one of the best things that we got them ready for, and they were doing it for 2 to 3 weeks within the actual lockdown period, generating extra cash flow. What was weird is that the average sale that they were doing online was not too much less than their average sale doing in the face-to-face. So that means their training skills to begin with were already there to a point that they can actually then tweak a little bit of what they were doing and adapt to the new online viewing system with it. So once we start to know, okay, so we can't sell to our clients anymore, perhaps we can sell our past clients digital files. I think you'd be wrong trying to sell vouchers because basically they don't know if you're going to be there in a few weeks or a few months, and it's probably not going to be worth much cash flow bringing in anyway. Definitely stop any expenditure as far as marketing money is concerned. And as a rule of thumb, when you're usually in recession, marketing isn't the thing you stop. In fact, some of the bigger companies will ramp it up more and more and more. But at this point, I categorically told all the experienced photographers, do not spend money on marketing until we tell you when. And they were going, oh, but Facebook's cheap and this is cheap. And it's like, yes, it's cheap because it's not getting the reaction. And yes, we're going to get reaction. We're going to get reaction at the right time, not the wrong time. And if we pace ourselves correctly, we're going to have the budget left. So that when we get to the last stages, we can use that, and we can use it really well. I'm not sure if you're watching the Race Around the World thing on a Sunday night on BBC, but in fact, I just love it. Never seen it before. But I think there's 4 teams left in the mix now, but there's only one team that really has enough money left to really reach the end. So even though they're in a race to get to the end place, the 3 other teams are so vulnerable that they might not even get there. Even if they're going quick to get to a place, they might not get there. And that's what you've got to watch now with your business, is that you're taking grasp of everything you have. You are speaking to anybody that you owe money to. You speak to them. That's the key thing. All right, we're talking about this in week 3 a little bit more for you, but I'll structure that, and as best advice I can be given to you. So write it down. When will my cash flow run out? Find that out. You need to find that out today, okay? Really. I know you don't want to know it, but you have to do it today. Next thing, take care of yourself, okay? So getting up, keeping to a rhythm, keeping to a routine, having a shave. Basically, I've got baby skin, yeah? So I only shave every couple of days as it is, everything else, but I get up and I'm ready for work, even if I'm not going to work. And that's a mental thing. I need to be ready to do my job. I need to focus in on what is at the task ahead. Yeah, chocolate. Easter couldn't have come at the best time and the worst time for many of us. And the good news is, yesterday was my last day of chocolate, and this week I can't eat any of it, and I can't eat bread, and I can't eat potatoes, because I didn't take care of myself leading into this pandemic. And it's my job now to say, hey, Mark, you're getting older, very old. Now you need to actually keep fitter a little bit more. And thank goodness I've got a dog, so I have to take it out for a walk once a day, but I have to take care of myself. But it is not just in the physical, it is in the mental. I need you absolutely prepared for switch on, for business. And I don't need you when you sit down at the computer going onto Facebook and listening to others who are wasting their time. I need you at your computer doing your thing, concentrating on your thing, making sure that the tasks that we're going to put aside right at the end of the session today, you are doing them and not thinking about doing them. There's a difference there, and it's either going to make you or it's going to break you as well. Keep calm. I know it sounds really ridiculous, and I'm not making any apologies for it, but you know what? Your heart's doing this. You might be sleeping not as well. You might be drinking a little bit more. You might be eating the wrong things. You might be blowing your top at, the littlest things. It's what you can in the way that you can. I can't help you with that, okay? But you need to find a calm. You need to almost find your relaxation point, whether it's twice a day or once a day or more, yeah. But you need to find a way that you can just zone. At the end of martial arts training, we go through a breathing exercise and a relaxation that is calming you down from the activity, but also a little bit of the kind of the awareness and the kind of the heightened kind of almost shaking level that you might be at the end of a great training session. So you have to now take that big breaths in, and if there is somebody online that shows you how to do breathing or yoga, whatever it is, I would say try and put that into your lifestyle now, because if you can adapt it now, my wife is always amazed that I can get into bed and fall asleep like that. That's because I don't talk about work when I go home from work at any stage, and she knows. And even though she's the integral part of running the business, I don't talk about anything to do with business in any way as soon as I switched off. I have to switch off. You need to switch off as well with it. So that keeping calm, find some method to find that thing to do in things, really. Have a plan. I'm going to give you a plan. I'm going to give you a little bit of a plan every time we meet online. Okay, so you'll be able to actually understand of what to do and how to do it and what's going to make the big difference anyway. But just grab yourself a beer mat or a piece of card or whatever it'll be, all right, and just start the plan. And that is day one, week one. If that's today for you, you start that plan, but we have to have a plan of where we're going to be going to. And all military things are actually planned to the nth degree, and that's how they end up needing to win the battles and everything else. Keep your mind in the game. I think that goes back a little bit to the keep calm, but it's not quite the same. What I mean by keeping your mind in the game is don't worry about others. Worry about yours. So in other words, worry about your family, your situation, your business, what you're going to be doing. Don't worry about others. And that sounds really bad in this time, but in a business sense, you've got to be an island. You've got to actually not allow anybody else to affect your thinking, your motivation, your doing, because you can get distracted like that. So you'll kind of be questioning yourself a lot as well, because of things that are not going quite to plan, or things that are basically not running as well, or you might have had a hidden kind of cost come about, or whatever it would be. But you've got to keep that mind in the game, and that game is your game, not somebody else's game. That's very, very important to me. And I keep nagging the experience group. They ignore me, like you'll ignore me as well, I'm sure. And they try and actually look at what somebody else is doing. Well, that's worked really well for them, so let me do that and do similar things as well. But a lot of the triggers and mechanics that work together within everything take time. And the first thing is don't get distracted by somebody else, okay? You've got to almost promise me that, because if you don't, you're just going to be playing to somebody else's tune and not yours. If you've got staff, if you've got people who work for you, whether they're full-time or part-time, or whether they just work on an ad hoc basis, I would suggest that every week, or at latest 2 weeks, you're having a quick chat with them on the telephone. I think House Party has revolutionized the way that I speak to my team, but we only do it in the time of the day. I'm not kind of getting in touch with them at 10 o'clock at night, whatever it is. I just want them informed of actually know what is going on and what we're doing and what we're trying to do, and where our exit point is going to be, and so on with it. Get creative with ideas. This is a time, if you allow yourself to just go absolutely out there, you in business will allow yourself to think in a different way than you've ever had the opportunity to think before. I think so many small businesses that I come across in photography, they start off as a photographer thinking, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, it's going to be amazing. But then they realize that in fact they're 10% photographer and 90% in business. Well, for this time, this is a really kind of focusing everything within the business to a finer degree. So you've got chance, or you've had chance in the past 3 to 4 weeks, to really put everything in their little boxes. Now you should be mine. Now you should be going, okay, this Cleghorn guy, he's saying I've got to be better at this, or I've got to try and bring a little bit more edginess to my photography. And we're going to be showing you and talking about that, whether it's portrait photography or wedding photography or commercial photography, future editions of these, right? But we're going to be looking at how we can take the mind into a creative place. So I'd like you to really start to think of looking at Pinterest or the books on your shelf. Okay, so I want you swamping yourself with images, and I'd like you to collect around about 60 images a week based on certain topics. So write down your topics and then go and find the things that inspire you. because this is a time where I get, as I said, that I've never had before with our experienced photographers. They've got no excuses. They're all mine as far as I'm concerned. They can have Jay on restart when they want to actually go back to lazy marketing and all that kind of thing, but now they're mine. Now it's my job to make them better than they were before they began, even though they can't practice what they're doing now. But also in business ideas, I can get them thinking outside of their own box. I can get them thinking about where they want to be instead of actually just getting on the treadmill and doing the same thing. Avoid drastic decisions. Yeah, I throw my dummy out the pram as well. I do, and I'm as bad as the lot of you, I promise you. So don't think I'm some kind of perfect guy here. Even this morning, I threw my dummy out the pram over something, and basically I've got online and I've apologized to the group. But it was like, you know what, just chill. I wish I could take my own thing of, you know, think to 10 or whatever it is before you actually do anything. But what are drastic decisions I'm really on about? Closing the door, taking a loan out. Don't just instantly do these things. Don't demoralize yourself and go, I can't do this, okay? And then all of a sudden you're going to turn yourself into that downward spiral element. I need you positive up here. So the first thing is, any decision you're going to make is a decision that is going to be made tomorrow. Any decisions that you come up with today, you write it down. You don't do anything about that decision until you look at it again tomorrow. You reassess it tomorrow. And then if it's still the thing you've got to do, you have to do it, then you do it. If you can put that decision making off, the drastic ones, these ones that could absolutely affect everything that you're doing, I need you to park it. You've never heard me say that ever before. I'm telling you now, do not knee jerk into anything. We are planners, we are businesses, and put those two things together. We cannot make a decision or make something work now. It has to be parked and placed into another day so we just don't kind of get it wrong. At the end of your week, step back. Step back and go, what did we do this week? What did I do this week? What did I get done this week? What was the reaction this week? Score yourself out of 10 for doing things. Score yourself out of 10 for the creative elements. Score yourself out of 10 for social interaction. Score yourself out of 10 for being a good human being. You know, these are things where you can step backwards. And if you allow yourself, and these don't take very long, what I'm saying is that, okay, so what did we do last week? What did we actually achieve last week? Because if I can understand what I achieved last week, perhaps next week I can achieve even more. And next week I can actually take it to that extra little hurdle that's been fighting me for a while. I can start and look at that again and things really. So try and fly away. I mean, they say I have this ability here to look at everything from a distance and then be able to instantly go micro and actually look at it in a kind of really close-up way. I wish I could say that about my spelling, to be honest, but hey-ho, I'm not naturally talented with that. But assess everything you've done in the week before so you can look at it and actually look for the week ahead so you don't make the same mistakes again. And you don't waste time is the key thing as well with it. Only apply trusted opinions. I'm going to ask you to put your trust in me for the next 6 episodes. That's really big of me to ask, and it's really big of you to say yes to. There are a lot of false prophets out there that will give you misinformation because they know nothing else. They will give you advice based on not being around long enough, but they're regurgitators rather than actually time served. The only trusted opinion that you should have at this point is going to be yourself, you, the people who love you and are honest with you. So if you're going on the X Factor and somebody says you're a great singer in the family, you don't believe them. That's what I'm on about. So in other words, the only trusted opinions that you're going to have are people you can honestly get their the feedback through. I have been commented on to say that my bedside manner is not the best. This is probably the time you're going to love me more than anything else, is because There ain't going to be any bullshit coming out from us here. This is all about, this is my industry. I want my industry to survive and grow and strengthen. But it doesn't come with loose tongues. It doesn't come with just throwaway advice. It comes with everything that we've been on about, structured planning to make sure that the battle is going to be won. That's what we're trying to achieve. So if you're reading online on Facebook or forums or in magazines or whatever it is, I'm going to ask you, please, just take it in the context that it is and question that person. Question them, not physically, of course, but just question them and go, okay, why? Why should I trust this opinion? Why? And you should be asking that about me, is why should I trust his opinion and not others? That you can only answer that, and you'll have to do your own research to answer that. I'm not going to blow my own trumpet here. This is down to you, but you have to have trusted opinions around you to cut through all that is kind of crap, as it were. In the same breath, don't be afraid to ask for help. Yeah. Whatever is worrying you, it could be mental stress, it could be financial stress, it could be getting lost in the fog, not knowing what to do first because you feel like there's so much to do and you don't know what to do first, then just do not be afraid to ask for help. That's the key thing. And even if you use these sessions once a week to ask for help, ask for help. If you don't ask it, I can't give it, all right? Obviously, I can't give it to you all because of the experience group, but I'll give you absolutely as much as I can. In the same way, it would have been very easy for us to actually made the basic academy level a kind of a 10 quid one, and I could have financed it or whatever it'll be. But we made the decision, Jay and I, we made the decision and went, we're going to give it away. We're going to give it away because there might be people out there who don't have any money at all. They don't have any money and they need the help. They need the distraction. They need to actually watch stuff, whatever it is, besides for you, YouTube and getting lost in the ether and everything else with it. Let's give them some structure that they can keep to. We know that we have a membership then if they enjoy what they watch and everything else with it, and they enjoy what we do, then basically if we play our cards right, some of that percentage we give it away to in time will become a member, a paid for member, and they'll repay what you kind of given and so on with it. And that's just being good being good human, really. I'm not on about just expecting a percentage of them to sign up and so on with it. That's what we can hope for in business. As good human beings, you need to do things good for other human beings. That is where will separate us out from the crowd doing this whole thing that we're in and things, really. And the last but no means least on this is where all your emotions on every sleeve. Yeah, I cry, Jay cries. We do it because we're emotionally charged. We love what we do. And basically, I'm not saying cry every day, for God's sake. You'll be going back to number 2 on the list, number 3 on the list. But where your emotions, don't let them bottle up. I've let it bottle up with me this morning. 5 or 6 little things have happened from 5 or 6 people this morning before I went live, and I had no time to calm down. And then something is dropped in as far as a question is concerned, and that's when I kind of let fly with it and things, really. So that's my problem. I do wear my emotions on a sleeve, but my job is to protect my team and my family, and I'm trying to protect you all at the same time. But you need to actually protect yourself at the same point, but allow yourself to just wear that little bit of emotion more. Okay. Let's talk about doing something. Jay, any questions before we get going, mate?
No, so far all I've had is thanks and praise, to be honest, for actually doing this. So nothing specific, but well, I'll keep you posted.
Okay. We've got two main slides to come, all right? This is the doing part now. Now we've kind of accepted there's a problem. We've understood all the problem. We've talked out the problem. Now we need to go, okay, Cleghorn, what are we going to do now with it, okay? So do something now. This is every time when you're online with me, you are going to be doing something, I hope, as soon as you come offline with me. That's what I'm promising to you, and you have to promise it to yourself. So the first thing that you're going to do is talk about you and your business to anybody you can, anybody and everybody, and almost bore the pants off your community, your world, or whatever it be, but talk about you and your business, because they might not know about you. They might not even know you exist. They might not even know that you are a professional photographer. They might not even know that you didn't work for the police force or whatever it is still, or whatever it would be, and things. So just talk about you and your business, make it personal. That's key, okay? If you don't talk about personal, they don't believe you. Be vulnerable, we talked about that already, but when you talk about your business, it mustn't look weak, no matter what. It must almost look strong, and you do have to wrap it in a little bit of a protection shield to make it look a little bit stronger than it is, because if you show your weakness now, basically there'll be wolves at the door and basically ripping you apart and everything else with it and things. So talking about you and your business, what can I talk about? What can I talk? Pick a product up. Album USB, let's just say. There we go. Hi, I'm Mark Cleghorn, and welcome to my little bit of an introduction to my business. And for those of you are unfamiliar with what I am, I'm a specialist in female photography, and we operate from a beautiful studio down here in Barry and things really. Just wanted to give a bit of a glimpse behind the scene in one of our best-selling products, which is our album and USB. Comes in around about £800, fully laden with photographs and actually digital files. That includes the session as well. I think it's our bestseller because, well, I know it's our bestseller because it's a little bit of something special that most women can pack away and hide in the drawer, and actually know when they're having a bad day, they can get out again and basically make them feel themselves good again. They can make sure that themselves and nobody else makes them feel like this. In other words, what they're looking at is images that is them on their very best day, because we've made it their best day. And the album itself is basically amazing because it is that little bit of a secret they can put away. Our USBs, the high-end USBs, and obviously we include all our fully retouched and digital files when you're actually purchasing from us and things really. But the product here comes in a different variety of sizes and shapes and colors, and actually all comes to design around about you. So just by doing something like that, you know, a minute or two on your iPhone, in your environment, make sure your background's quite good. Make sure that you're talking about you and your business, but talk about it every couple of days if you can't, or you don't feel like you can do it each day as such really, okay? Contact past clients. It goes without saying, because at some stage we're going to be on restart here, all right? And I need those past clients to know you're still around and go, hey, I'm here and I'm ready for you, okay? Contact them in a nice way. Engage with past clients. That's essential in so many ways, if possible. And look at, you know, who were your best clients over the past 2 or 3 years, and make sure you engage with them in some way. We're also going to have to accept that we're probably going to be looking for a new audience as well. But is this the right time? And if it is the right time, and Mark Cleghorn has said, I can't spend any money on marketing yet, I can't spend any money on marketing. So it means that I've got to do things in a way that I can, interact with possible new audiences without the kind of the cost. So I've obviously got to get creative. I've got to get thinking about, well, I spend all this time on social media anyway. Where can I find that new type of client? Who are they? Because that's one of the things that you've got to address first of all, is that if business is going to change, then who is the new client? So is that woman going to be available to actually be photographed every day of the week from now on, or is she going to have to be back in work because she needs to repay a lot more debt? Does that mean my diary is going to change? Things really. There's loads of questions going to go on here. Perhaps instead of my 45 to 60-year-old woman who I'm going to really be pitching my business at all the time, I've actually got to go, whoa, hang on a minute, I need the 20 somethings for at least 3 to 4 months as well, because they're less vulnerable to the virus. They're probably going to be working quicker. They're probably still not going to be able to go out clubbing and doing all the things that they really want to do anyway, so they're going to have a little bit more money in their pockets. So that is a real kind of going, okay, new audience, got it. So in other words, I'm a commercial photographer, and I'm a product photographer, and basically product gets delivered to me. Well, okay, so I'm isolated. How do I start to attract in a new client base that could work in exactly the same way, and it's not going to perish on the way and things really? So I can't become a food photographer overnight. Plus, you know, the restaurants and the hotels and cafes and else, they're probably going to be one of the longest things to get going. So I don't want to be putting all my eggs in that basket now, no pun intended there, by the way, but I've got to be looking at new audiences, because if I just concentrate on the audience of old, they might not be there as much, because most of my clientele is self-employed business people, especially in family photography. They're my big spenders. Are they going to have as much money to spend at the end? Yeah, my solicitors are, my doctors are, but they're going to be knackered. All right, let's face it. My estate agency clients, they're not, because they're going to be skint, or they're going to be very wealthy very soon, because these are going to be a huge amount of property coming up for sale, because prices are going to drop through the floor, or prices are going to be remaining there, and basically they're going to have a lot of property to sell for one reason or another. So you do have to explore new audiences, and we've got to understand what our business is based on now. So, and that kind of ties in fact, about grow longer branches to your tree. It was a lovely business seminar long before webinars existed, but it was a great seminar I wedded to, and they basically just talked all day about your business being a tree, and just the visualization of it, even before they showed their first acetate on the overhead projectors. You know, that's a long time ago. But before they even put it on there, as soon as I just got it, and I was paying like 500 quid for the day on this course, but I got it and I understood it. So this is where we need to reach further away from our base of our trunk of our tree, as the core of the business. We need to stretch a little bit more and be aware of it, but we better make sure that the roots of the tree, in other words, the cash flow, is really there. And we're going to be looking at this during one of the financial sessions that we're going to be doing. But we definitely need to actually go, how far can we go? How far can we reach? What different new audiences are we going to look at? So we basically still have a strong trunk of a tree to actually be stable for ourselves. What we don't want to do is put so much fruit on the one end of the branch that it snaps off and then the rest of the tree perishes. We always want to make sure there's a balance and a structure to everything that we're doing. But you've got to make this decision now about, okay, so am I going to travel further afield? Am I going to offer a different type of service initially or beyond this to actually change what I do now? And that's pretty much what I'm going to be discussing next week in some ways with the wedding photographers. And please feel free to join us, even if you don't do weddings. I think you'll pick up quite a lot of stuff and things really. But how far are we going to grow this branches? That's the key thing. Diversify you and your business just a little bit more than perhaps you are today. Okay, so if you're an arrogant git like me, that's 80% black and white and 20% color, you go, oh, okay, well, I'm going to open myself up to a little bit more color photography. Why? It's something to talk about or something to discuss and everything else, but as long as it doesn't affect my core. And of course, during this time, you definitely have time to add new skills. This is why with my experience group, I've said to them, you're mine. You're mine. Unless you're going in the back garden and just having a couple of gin and tonics a day and everything else, you've got really nothing. You can't be saying that you're busy shooting or doing viewings, because you haven't. You can't be busy marketing on Facebook or the likes of, because you shouldn't be. So you're all mine. You are mine. So add new skills in. What do I need you to do? Well, I need you to do this. I need you to do that. I've just this Thursday coming is the first of the training Thursdays that we're doing with them. And why are we doing it now? Because we're week 5 is because week 1 to 4 for them has been very busy doing lots of things in a structured way for me and things. Just to give you an idea, all right, just on everything that were there, I'll show you very quickly, because I know we're out of time, but I'll show you quickly what we were doing for the plan of experience. All right. So in other words, our message, how's that going to change? Well, we believe that you need us now more than ever before. All right. Community, that's a family. Those aren't our words. Those are the words of our experienced members, how they talk about experience when they're inside. Graphics, we're fully aware that we need to actually generate a completely different set of campaign graphics and promotions that probably we were already having planned. We have a 2020 diary and a 2020 campaign diary. Everything is in here. It's launched at the beginning of each year, and it's previewed in the November of each year. Well, everything of that takes planning things really. Recovery, how am I going to recover debt? How am I going to recover monies that I've lost? How am I going to recover the the kind of the restart and everything else with it and things really? So there's a lot of recovery questions, but the recovery is really my business question to myself rather than the rest of the team. Support more important than ever before. Well, we're limited here on staff at present, but it doesn't mean we're not available. Structure, we need to bring a better structure than ever before. So look at every little thing and we can actually just tweak it to make sure it is a little bit more understandable. They were saying that Mark's experience is more important now than anything else. And I haven't got time to go on to this, okay, because we need to get to the what to do kind of thing. But this is a one slide plan of what we've just been discussing. That's really where we're at, is that all businesses need to change. They all need to adapt. I suppose the main one there is inertia. Inertia is our most powerful word that I use within experience now, is we never stop. We are generating, we're changing, we're morphing, we're doing things. It's absolutely essential to the development and the future of all of our businesses that are involved with experience. Okay, so these are the main things for you to do for me now. Okay, so what is it going to be? It's going to be design the business around a more restricted shooting and viewing diary. This is going to take you probably 15 minutes to half an hour of tomorrow to do. Change your diary, in other words, yes? You're going to come up with a plan to concentrate on filling your diary session slots with the leads on hand that you had before you closed down or before business had restrictions. So you're going to concentrate on the old instead of concentrating on the new. You're going to always keep to plan and not knee jerk. Remember, this is only really part one kind of thing to do, all right? We've got six of these to go yet. We need to make sure we don't knee jerk in anything. We need to watch the cash flow. That's key. Don't take on too much. Now that means, don't take on too much of yourself. Have those kind of chilling out days. Have that day where you're basically not doing anything or doing little, and basically making sure that when we restart as well, that we're able to do what we're planning to do, or do we need to actually take somebody back on sooner rather than later as well? And then one of the key things is that when you're working on your business document, is that you're not going to overestimate the sales. And we're going to be doing that in week 4, okay? We're going to be looking at it. We're going to be looking at, okay, so if clients bought X in that time, are they going to be buying X in Y time and things really? If they're not, how are we going to adjust it? And how are we going to restart ourselves selling? Because, you know, I would say one of the most difficult things is going to be to restart yourself. And that's why I'm nagging my experience group every single day in one way or another, is to make sure they're doing things. You know, we're doing a weekly session with each of the different groups. The new group is getting extra training as well to make sure they're kind of bringing up their skill sets as we're going along, even though we're still probably 9 weeks away from restart. We still have to prepare them for that and get everything else ready. But it's also focusing on what is the most important things to do now and taking a little bit less off what is to come. Jay, questions, mate?
Yeah, most of them are on a same theme, and but I've got to reiterate before we get into anything to do with experience, the praise and how much we have shared, and we've motivated people already just in session 1. So 5 more of these to go, and people even with us today who are obviously looking forward to next week, but see how the wedding principles can apply to anything that we're talking about so far, which is exactly key. One of the things that seems to have come up quite a few times, so I'll kind of roll it all up into 2 questions, Mark, is when we started talking about getting involved with other local businesses. Obviously in lockdown this is harder, so are we normally where we'd expect to be like on the phone or physically meeting them, do you still advise doing this via email or direct messaging?
Yep.
Yeah, it's absolutely your way forward on that, being social media is sort of my area of expertise.
They've got time for you now.
Yeah, they've got
time for you as well.
They've got time for you, and if they're of the same mind that you are, then absolutely, they'll want to talk to you. So it's never been a better time, really. Something that came up from a few people, Mark, which we did have in one of our own. I think it was in something that we did last week. But with regards to engaging with our audiences through social media at the moment, best advice for people who are starting out who don't have maybe the content.
Okay, well, that's one of the benefits of the experience, of course, is that we do have it. That sounds like a really hard sell, and I didn't mean that at all after just what we've just been on about. Create it. Create the content you've got to. I can't help you, honestly. If you haven't got photography yet, if you haven't, you've just got to use the best of what you can. Try and interact with your local communities and see if you can get involved in some way. I mean, you're in a tough position. One of the things that we have within the experience group, of course, is there's a slide here somewhere. Let me just try and find the slide. There you go. So, instantly download our campaign assets and marketing material. Most digital assets come with an editable PSD for you to personalize. Use our 4 national e-magazines to collect data for new e-marketing. Combine our campaigns and your calendar to get more structured diary. And we've created, is it 400 new graphics?
Yeah, that was just in the last, 5 weeks, if that?
5 weeks, because we needed stuff for the group and everything that we were doing and things ready. So I'm sorry you're in the predicament that you are, but you've just got to be able to do the best you can physically do. If you've got budget and you're interested in enjoying the experience, then of course we'd love to chat to you anyway. But you've got to be realistic at these times about what you can physically do. We'd usually say that you can be earning from us within 4 to 6 weeks, which probably 10 to 11 weeks. I could actually promise the return. I couldn't promise it any quicker than that. So you'd be, how much is it per month?
$216.
It's $216 a month. So if you can wear that for 3 months, you should actually get your return in the 3rd month. So it's in the 4th month, basically experience wouldn't be costing you any money then, and you should be delivering what you need to do and things. So if you're looking for 3 to 4 sessions a week, we should be actually able to handle that even on restart. Obviously, we don't know if there's going to be a second wave. But nothing is telling us at present that we're not on our schedule.
Brilliant. Sorry, mate. I was just looking through the question panel. Well, I know we're going to talk for those people who might be interested in learning a bit more about experience in a minute, but the question has come in. Is it a good or a bad time to join the group, and why? So we're about to cover that anyway. Let me just...
Yeah, you know what? We didn't really want to do a heavy sale on these things at all with it and things really, but I was reminded that, hang on a minute, they do need us more than ever. And so I'm not going to apologize because I'm doing as I'm told, right? So I suppose if we subbed it up in 4 slides, that's what I tried to do, is that as soon as you join the group anyway, which probably takes you about a week or so, And once you're there, we're not concentrating on the usual now. We're looking at the things that we're putting in place for you straight away. So there's a 14-week plan, in fact, that is there to actually be done. So we're at week 5. We take you back to week 1. We would ensure that you're in pace with that. For those of you who were a little bit more advanced, we could probably bring you up to week 3 a little bit quicker, but I do really want the structure in place and things really, because as I said, it is a structured plan and things really. I've got to get you ready to reopen the door. So you're going to get an interactive session within your group. We say an hour, it's more like an hour and a half for most of the groups. But the main thing is we've got lots of video catch-up sessions as well within the group, on everything from sales training to pricing and kind of e-marketing and so on. So you can absolutely kind of devour everything that we have to do with that during these weeks. And my main thing is how to launch and manage your long-term business development, and the digital marketing and the experience campaigns is how do we fit those in. So within a few weeks, probably not as soon as you join, in fact, but you'll have a session with me to kind of look at the business model that you want and seeing how we're going to do it and things really. There's a mentor session included with Jay during the course of the year as well, but probably you'd want to not jump on that straight away. You'd use that on opening. We've turned the whole of the experience membership into an online membership only at present. We've got 2 levels. One is community, that includes 3 photography days down here and 3 business days, face-to-face, along with some other things. And now we have an online option. It launched in January. I can't believe we didn't have it before. But anyway, we launched it in January because we were getting more inquiries from overseas and so on. And basically, the online option basically gives you everything that we have now. So in fact, it's more at present because we're meeting each week. We've even had from some of the long time experienced photographers who've been with us for 4 or 5 years, they're saying they're actually loving the weekly interaction online and the sessions that they do, and they all get to meet on the face-to-face. And basically it's not on Zoom. We have our own method like you see it now, but in a meeting one where we all share each other's webcams, we all chat and everything else with it. So that's been really good. In fact, we're probably actually looking at ways that we can incorporate that throughout the forever of experience now. It's worked that well. The digital assets is probably our most powerful thing that many people miss when they leave us, and they leave us because they built the business up to the right place and so on with it, whatever. I've been having a look at some of the past experienced people recently, and I'm just a bit worried about them, even though they might have gone 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and you can just see that they just don't have the presence. And when people are applying what we're applying, the results are magnificent. And there's no way that they would be getting what they're getting in any other way from us and things. You know, to turn around 400 graphics or whatever it was within such a small, short window of time, and we're continually to promote graphics every week as well. They're all on now with a monthly to-do thing. There's 2 things that they are doing, and basically one is in front of them and one of them is behind the scenes, as it were. But those will actually make sure that when they relaunch with a pop instead of a bang, as it were, and things. So as I said, you know, when you join the experience, really, it's an interactive now more than ever. And our social group, the Facebook group, is such a powerful thing. I'm not involved with it much. I'm lucky. Jay's our social guy on that. But the people themselves, Jay, isn't it? They talk about they are a family, and again, that's really.
We started hearing that from them, not us.
Yeah.
Probably about 12 months ago, and I remember me, you, and Debbie in a very big group meeting, just looking at each other when several of them had used the word family, and I remember nodding to Debbie, going, "Yeah, we are," and we've never, you know, and at that point, you know, we knew how they felt. We knew how they felt about us anyway, but it was really nice to hear. And the quote was that I could not see myself being not a part of the experience family. And when I heard that from somebody who'd been with us for a few years then, and then reiterated around the group, that was yeah, it was a big deal for us. Very big deal. Getting touched it all.
Get in touch, really, isn't it? I can't really sell it any more than that, because I'm here to help you as a survival guide. What I'll say though is, if you invest into us, I promise you're going to get it back tenfold. That's one of the reasons that we always, our marketing slightly changed its message in the past couple of days. Instead of saying, we're going to add 30k to your business, we've turned it around. You'll need us more than ever, but you're still going to add 30k to your business with it. We were on track last year. I believe we did 15.4 million in turnover. That's not me. I only wish, but that's spread out throughout the whole group and things, really. And again, for this year, because of certain things, including interest-free credit and the training facility that we put in place, we were anticipating that we were going to be in the 20 million level for this year and things, really, and that's going to not happen. However, the facilities that we have, like the interest-free credit, like the other things, are absolutely phenomenal. We're going to need that more than ever. In fact, not us. I'm on about the photographers are going to need our facility to offer out to their clients, and obviously it will affect more clients perhaps being refused. But the percentages of refusal from us, from the company that we use, is just absolutely, it's staggering compared to others. It's amazing, in other words, what we're kind of able to kind of get done and things, really. But look, you know what, it's there. If you're interested, we'd love to talk to you and things, really.
Mark, I'm sorry to interrupt. Michael's asked, and it's a really good point, and we normally have these type of questions, but can the experience start whilst working a full-time non-photographic job as a way to build my photography business?
Yeah, of course. In fact, there's a lot who do, and things, really. We're not only let me just. There's a new little brochure just being put together now. Hang on a minute. Let me find that. There's one about restart, or I do like that one. There you go. I think that's it, really. Getting a business started, as well as taking a business from brink of no return, is what we specialize in, really. I just wish it wasn't that way all the time. But join us at the right time, and we can develop your business in a structured way. Join us late, and we spend most of our time fighting with you for the first months or up to a year and things, really. And it's kind of getting out of the way. I mean, there's that inertia slide that I was on about to you and things. That's what we pride ourselves on, is change is good. Change is good when it works. Change is bad if it doesn't work, and that's why we test everything before we do it. Things, really. But yeah, if you're interested, sorry, I was just looking at the new brochure on the side. Just give you a quick look on that. Right. Anything else, Jay?
No, I think you've just answered everything that I had in the question panel for you, with the exception, as I said, lots of praise for the insight, and looking forward to the rest of the series. So. Brilliant.
Thanks, everybody. Take care of yourselves. Yeah, that's the main message. But it's my job to take care of your businesses. So you better be here for your health check in a week with me anyway. Next week, as I said, specifically, we're going to be looking at wedding